Want to welcome everyone to our HIB parent seminar, Understanding HIB, Clicks, Comments, and Kindness, Bullying in the Digital Age. Just so you know, we did present this on April 22nd, and we did record it, but there were so many technical difficulties for those of you who may have been on that we are retaping this because we had some issues. So we're retaping it. Nathaniel and I are here. This is Nathaniel. He's our student intern. He's going to be presenting because he created some of the slides on this presentation, and we're super proud of him. So he is going to be presenting as well. So I am going to get started. Let's see. All right. So I always like to start off with explaining we have goals for each school year around bullying. We've started that a few years ago, really so that we can continue to grow as a district and support our kiddos. So the 4 things we're working on this year are planning some digital citizenship lessons and coordinating some supports for families around digital citizenship, working with our families to expand your understanding and how you can support your student around bullying, staff training and teacher training around social emotional learning, and also some targeted support for the students who initiate negative experiences, whether they're bullying another student or some other negative interaction. How do we support those kiddos? So those are the things that we're working on. I would say we are, I always say completed but ongoing, because these things should never be completed, but we've done what we've said we were going to do. So 3 of those are completed and ongoing, and we are still in the planning stages of building some curriculum and lessons. So we're working on that. So also at each school, there are anti-bullying specialists. So I'd like to just share those with you. So these are the anti-bullying specialists at the elementary schools. Also, Dr. Gilbert's name is on there. He is our coordinator for anti-bullying. And then here are the middle schools and high school. Just to remind everyone, if they saw our first HIB presentation, that in order for something to be defined an official harassment, intimidation, or bullying, a founded case, that means that it did happen and it means it's bullying. It has to hit 5 criteria. So in the first column, you see it has to be a gesture or something written or physical. Something has to happen, right? Something has to happen, electronic communication, but something. And then the second part of that is the something that happens has to be motivated based on someone's perceived or actual characteristics. So it could be someone's race, color, religion, gender, something like that. That's actual characteristic, or perceived, someone who looks like, in quotes, a particular religion or sexual orientation or something like that, a perception of that person. So either way, it needs to be motivated by something like that. The third column, the third thing, or the middle column, is it can happen anywhere. It can happen on school grounds or off school grounds, and it must substantially disrupt or interfere with the students' rights at school. And so that our team has a set of questions that really goes into, was this a mean moment, which happens, or did it disrupt the child enough that it would be considered bullying? And then the last column, it has to hit one of those categories. Doesn't have to hit them all, but either a child of that age should have known better, or what was said or done was insulting or demeaning, or it creates a hostile environment by causing physical or emotional harm. So something has to meet all of these criteria in order for it to be an HIB. But I just always like to remind parents that something might not be an HIB, but it doesn't mean we're not going to address it. So behaviors can fall into 3 different categories. The first it could be an HIB, it could be harassment, intimidation, and bullying. But if it's not, it could be a code of conduct violation, right? So saying things that are bias and hate speech is against our code of conduct. So it might be HIB, it might also or either be code of conduct. And then the third thing is it might not be either of those things. Maybe it's a student conflict, and maybe students are in an argument. It doesn't rise to the level of code of conduct or bullying, but we still need to help the students. And so we take part in supporting the students across all of these areas. And just a snapshot of what we might do. We would support the victims, we would support the offender, and we would rebuild relationships. So whether it's an HIB, a code of conduct violation, or a student conflict, we take the following steps, right? It might be counseling or friendship groups or check-ins for our victims. Could be lessons on bullying or being unkind. It could be conferences with the students or parents or other or a discipline measure. We might take part in mediation or restorative conversation, but generally that happens only if all parties agree. And if there's student conflict, we would support the students separately and together and possibly build some social skills in. So I just want to pause and let you know that all of the blue slides that we're seeing were made by Nathaniel. He took part in creating this presentation with me, and so excited that he did that. He is part of our new intern program. Nathaniel, you might be one of our first interns ever, right? You were like maybe the second person in the program or the first person in the program. So
I think I like second. I think
yep.
second.
So, and he's working hard. So we're going to go over some digital citizenship around that and cyberbullying. So we're just going to go, if we click. So the digital world has brought some new issues, right? I'm a little bit older than Nathaniel. In my day, if you were mad at someone, there might have been a note passed. There might have been some mean words at school, but it didn't follow you home. No one was calling your house to do some mean things because your parents would pick up. This is a very different world. And so we need to know all of the things that could go on. Nathaniel, this is you.
Yep. So two main problems have seemed to emerge, especially within recent years. Obviously, we're talking about now with cyberbullying, which is basically bullying, like how you see it in school, but through digital means. So that can be messages, social media content, and usually does it through an intimidating or threatening nature. And while this presentation isn't about it, I think something also important to mention that we'll continue to mention is irresponsible generative AI use. This at times, and unfortunately, is starting to become a more integrated process with cyberbullying and being used more with it. So understanding how to use it is important to both identify it, but also keep you safe, both you and your family safe. So cyberbullying happens in a few places. Like I said before, social media. So you might see it Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Facebook. I'll probably go on and on. So you'll see messaging apps, online forums like Discord, Reddit. You might see gaming communities. So if your child plays any games, you play any games, you might experience that somewhere, or hopefully you haven't. It doesn't happen just in these places, but it's pretty important to avoid them due to our integration of society. You can't really avoid them, but it's best to know how to navigate them in order to avoid cyberbullying or your child being cyberbullied. So examples of cyberbullying is doxing. Doxing meaning the release of private info unwillingly. So like your social security number, where you live, ID, things like that. Posting mean or hurtful pieces of media, threatening to hurt someone, encouraging self-harm. These usually reference personal characteristics like sex, gender identity, religion, things like that. Lying, hate speech, spreading hurtful rumors, creating fake accounts, and usually like ganging up on someone through targeting them.
Okay. So there's lots of signs that we can be aware of, signs and effects of cyberbullying. So if you notice your child could be increased use of device or decreased, right? If it's increased, it's possibly that they keep checking to see what's going on, or decrease is that it's so overwhelming that they can't look anymore. Possibly hiding the screen when others come near. That's a red flag. Disconnection from peers. If you see that the friend groups are shifting, now that happens certainly in middle school and high school more often, but checking in on that is really important. Another sign is loss of interest in activities and avoiding social situations. And we have some effects of cyberbullying. So if a student is being bullied with cyberbullying, they might avoid social situations. It can bring on depression and anxiety, a disconnection of peers and loss of interest. Some physical responses, some stomach ache or headache, and some academic struggles. And what's interesting is the signs and the effects are similar, but it is always important to, ask questions. And, some families go through the phones. Some families do not go through the phones. That's a personal decision. But knowing what apps your children have access to, understanding how those work are important. Okay. So what's really interesting is it's not only the students who are bullied who have effects. Kids who bully others also have effects on them. So kids who bully others are more likely to be depressed, anxious, or lonely, experience self-harm or suicidal thoughts. They're more likely to engage in violent and risky behaviors such as alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs. More likely to have poor academic achievement, miss or drop out of school, and experience aggressive, impulsive behavior with higher risk of legal issues. They're also more likely to perpetuate dating violence and potentially become abusive towards partners or children as adults. So what I want you to understand is if you get a call from your child's school that maybe your child is involved in bullying, this doesn't mean that all of these things are going to happen immediately, right? But it means that if we don't break the cycle down of negative interaction, that these things could possibly be the effects. And so it's really important for us to work as partners with the school and the families to make sure we move our kids off the path of bullying if they are on it. Okay. So what to do? If you see a case of cyberbullying, please have your children or you take pictures for evidence. I know on Snapchat, if you take a picture, the other person knows. So you can use your phone and just snap a picture of the phone. You can report the incident on the website, on the app. You can block the person. We can review privacy settings on that app. And of course, give the support to the person being bullied. And we always tell our kiddos, tell an adult or person in authority, right? Tell your parent, tell your teacher, tell someone who can help you if you're unable or if it doesn't stop, right? And so that's really important. And we teach our kiddos that this is what they should do also.
Yeah, so the best remedy for stopping cyberbullying, not just if you have a case, but before that, is doing a lot of things. First, talking with your child. Obviously, you should check in with your child. Even if they have good grades or they seem fine, they may not always be fine. So that's not something you should regularly assume. If possible, follow your kid on social media. Many kids happen to have like a ghost account or a private account that's away from their parents. So keep that in mind. If needed, limit screen time, consider monitoring the apps. I would recommend staying up to date and informed at latest tech, social media platforms and apps that kids may be using. Establish rules online, make your values and positions clear on cyberbullying, as well as reviewing your own online habitats, as children are always modeling our behavior. So that's something important to think about.
Okay, I think we have a video next. Okay, Nathaniel, you're going to give me a thumbs up if you can hear it, if that works for you. Good. Okay. So I think, just so you know, we recognize that that is from Canada, but it's a great video to show your kids anyway, just so that they they feel armed and ready for if something happens like this.
Yeah, so going on to our next part, I know earlier I mentioned we talk about it. Here it is. So AI, we've all heard it within the past 6 years. Our kids may use it for school. It's a new form of technology that allows it to think and predict. And just clarification, when I'm saying AI, I'm simply talking about generative AI. AI and generative AI are two different things. Generative means that it will take something that already exists, or maybe you've given a prompt and create something based off that prompt. So think about that before. So if you are like thinking about your position on it, just think about that before you say anything or take an actual stance. It's been used with chatbots like ChatGPT and Gemini, and it's been used to create AI media like music, songs, pictures, and voices, caricatures, or videos. It can have many uses, but unfortunately, in recent years, it's been a very large tool within cyberbullying, as well as other things that aren't so savory. So knowing how to identify AI content can be important within the internet space to keep both you and your child safe. So first off, you have the more non-realistic pictures and media. This will usually, a very popular AI art form is Studio Ghibli. It's based off of too much, but it's basically based off of a Japanese cartoon. You'll notice this very yellowish tint with somehow a balance with vibrant colors and a soulless look with small mistakes in the image. For example, if you look at the one I have here, the palette only has green and yellow. So you want to look for that. Keep in mind, though, as AI is getting better, we're going to see less and less of these mistakes and look more real. So I'd recommend, even if you don't want to use AI or you don't like it, to keep updates on it so you know what to look for if you want to identify AI content. And for more realistic things, you'll usually see a distinct blur in the background, maybe on the thing it's making, an uncanny smoothness, similar facial structures, no matter what you really generate, improper anatomy, and they'll usually be facing towards like the camera or about where the camera would be, but that's usually less reliable. Keep in mind, I'm talking about AI pictures, but there's AI videos will usually be nonsensical after a while. And there's also AI music as well. If you want to go more in depth of that, I highly recommend that. There's a lot of good sources where you can experience it, if you do think it's interesting, or you can figure out what makes it tick or how to identify it. So I recommend look at those if you are interested.
And just to talk a little bit about how we're seeing this, we are seeing in cyberbullying in South Orange, Maplewood, and across the state and country, kiddos creating fake videos and fake photos to embarrass someone. Pictures, creating fake nude pictures of others, which is not legal. We're seeing people voice over and do fake audio clips. We've also seen across the country mimicking students' writing. So you might put in a prompt in ChatGPT of like, write like this student, right? And maybe you have some examples first. And then you can paste that into your social media app and cause some drama. People logging into each other's social media accounts and posting some of these things, and targeted harassment, right? And high volume attacks. We're seeing that, someone's texting. I say texting because that's what I use as an older person, but someone's snapping 10, 20, 40 times in an hour to make someone so overwhelmed with the harassment. And so these are things that AI can do, right? Because they can generate a lot of content at once, and can be very scary for a child. We always teach our kids to be upstanders and not bystanders. So we don't want them to add on and pile on. If someone's being bullied, we want them to stand up for that student. So we want them to pause before sharing, right? Think before you post. So if you get something that looks like it's bullying as a student, you should not forward it. You should stop it. Maybe you say stop in the chat. Speak up or go tell them to stop. Take screenshots for evidence of the messages. Tell an adult. And also support the victim, support the person who's being bullied, be a friend. So this is what we're teaching our kiddos. This is an extreme form of bullying, and generally sextortion is generally doesn't come from another student in the district. We're noticing it's coming from larger criminal organizations. But can happen from one person to another that know each other. It's when someone threatens to share your private images and force you to send money or favors. And so what normally happens is a generative AI picture, unless there is a nude picture out there of this person, is created. They send the victim the picture and say, I'm going to send this to your family or friends if you don't give me $100. What we're seeing is that they then send these messages for an hour or two over and over and over again. And the person is so overwhelmed that they either pay the person or, of course, they become very distressed. It's an interesting line for families. I have 4 teen kiddos myself in my own house. And so my message is always to my kids, please don't take nude pictures of yourself. And if something like this ever comes to your phone, tell me immediately and don't touch your phone. Right? You have to say both things. Law enforcement is absolutely needs to be involved in this case, because sometimes these are from larger criminal organizations and you need to call law enforcement immediately. We will help with that if this happens. But please let your children know, because if they don't know that this is happening, and we teach this in school too, but if they don't understand it, they may think that, they're going to get in trouble. And so obviously this is no one's fault but the criminal. Some online dangers, warning signs is extreme secrecy around devices, becoming extremely upset after receiving messages, unexplained requests for money or gift cards, and pressure from online friends for personal information. So sharing those red flags with your children is important. And have a plan. Stay calm, reassure your child they're not in trouble, save the evidence, don't delete anything, don't turn off your accounts yet. You can block, cut off contact, and find an official, school official or law enforcement immediately for sextortion cases. We here in the district provide digital citizenship lessons, but it's always important to share these values, of course, across home and school. So encourage respectful dialogue and positive interactions. We want to encourage empathetic behavior. How is your message going to affect others? Think about that before you hit send. It's important for our kids to know that nothing is gone from the internet ever, right? It is permanent. People are finding videos and pictures of someone, 20 years ago. It's much easier to do today than it was 20 years ago. Things will stay around, right? Applying critical thinking. Not all information found online is true. Respecting someone's privacy, asking permission before they post, and know how to get help and use AI responsibly. So those are all important digital citizenship tools. I want to take a moment and just remind our adults. I know in my district and many other districts, the online chats among adults, your community Facebook groups, can get very challenging, and grown-ups can say mean things online. And we are seeing this happen more and more over the last several years across the towns, across the state, and across the country. And I just want to remind everyone that our kids are watching, right? Adults behaving badly online causes an increase in student bullying, because modeling behavior is one of the key learning experiences in our children's lives. And so if we step back and are not keyboard warriors on our keyboards and say mean things, we can teach our children not to do that. And we're seeing an uptick. And so the children are watching, and we're asking all of our families to please use digital apps responsibly in your own lives, so that you can be models for your kiddos. I love this poster. I hang it in my house. So before you post, think, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind? Just so you know, you can report HIBs or bullying on our website. You can go right at the top. There's in one of the quick links, there's reporting HIBs, and you just go and click on it, and you can report something anonymously. Our kiddos can report it. That most of our kiddos who report are 6th through 12th grade, but they can put in a report. You can put in a report. This is how our teachers put in the reports, and then we will look into the situation for you. And these resources are available on our new website. I just want to share that we do have a new bullying website. I'm going to try and share it with you now. Hold on. Okay. Did it switch over, Nathaniel? Okay, perfect. All right. So if you go onto our website and you go to District Services, HIB, and down here, there is a toolkit. And this is a great place for, it talks about our anti-bullying curriculum and the parent letters that we send out each year about that curriculum. Some supports on how to help your child through conflict and bullying, the definition of bullying, how you can file an investigation. Also, some other resources on cyberbullying, being an upstander, a little video, and all of our anti-bullying specialists. So those are all important notifications for you to have. Okay. Also, we do have an organization who is looking to support specifically the girls in the district around some great social emotional learning and positive interactions. They asked us to share a QR code with you, so here it is. They want to hear from you. And that is it. So I just want to take a moment and thank Nathaniel for all of his help. I am loving this intern program, and he did a beautiful job on our presentation. So thank you, Nathaniel. And thank you for being here, everyone. And this will be posted right on our website. Have a wonderful day.